Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan, I'm the pastor here, and like every other Saturday night, it's so good to be with y'all. And I think I was just asking Tammy, how many weeks has it been now that we haven't met in person? I think this is it the sixth or seventh week we said? 7 weeks of not seeing y'all's faces. And I was just saying to them literally just like 2 minutes ago, this is one of my favorite parts of the week is just getting on 10 minutes before the service and saying hey to everyone and seeing y'all log in. And yes, I do want to give you the reminder, if you're on right now and you're not watching the replay, but you're live, well, even if you watch a replay later, hit the share button, hit the comment button, hit the like button. Let us know you're here. Let us know where you're tuning in from. But hit the share button because we're in this really important series for the next, this week and next week. And we started last week, but Hope in the Dark. So if you have friends, family members, Facebook friends that need some hope in the dark, like so many of us do, hit the share button, share some a good word with people. Again, so glad you're here. Welcome to Free. If you're wondering, if you're new here and you're wondering why we call this place, this community Free, because all the things that set us free, grace, compassion, love, forgiveness, these are the things that are so freely given by God. So we call this place, these people, Free. All right, y'all. I want you to feel free to engage throughout the evening. Comments, questions, observations. Give us your engagements throughout the evening on this Facebook feed, through the comment section. And the way we begin things here at Free is we begin by celebrating. And man, y'all, I say it every week, but there is something really profound that happens when you celebrate with hundreds of people, and throughout the week it'll be thousands of people in your midst. When you bring them in on your celebrations, and we believe around here that God celebrates with us. God joins us in the celebration. So we are giving you, what is it? Are we 2 minutes? You get 2 minutes to give us your celebrations in the comments. We don't ignore the hard stuff in life. We talk about the hard stuff around here. But we don't start there. We end with heartaches, but we start with celebrations. Maybe that's sobriety anniversaries. Some of you all are celebrating. I know y'all are because I've talked to some of you this week. Sobriety anniversaries, good things in life, the joy things, the moments that have made you smile. Let's celebrate it all and lift it up. Take 2 minutes. Let people in on this because, again, something mysterious and profound happens when you let others in on your celebration. And it's our way in this time especially to remain community. So take 2 minutes. Give us your celebrations in the comments. We'll come back. Tammy and I will read some of those celebrations and celebrate together as a community. Here's your 2 minutes.
Secret is I just smile and say follow me. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Life's too short not to really live. I got a big heart, I can let you in. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. On top of the world. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. My secret is I just smile and say live for today. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the sun came up and I gotta say see it in a whole new way. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Yeah. On top of the world. Yeah. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Yeah. On top of the world, yeah. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Ask me what my secret is. On top of the world, I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Ask me what my secret is. On top of the world, I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sitting on top of the
All right, welcome back, everybody.
Hi,
Tammy
friends.
is in the house. Hey, before we get started with your celebrations, and thank you, we've been reading them. It's always so fun to read your celebrations and to celebrate with you. But I want to let you know Stephanie King is in the house. She is our guest storyteller tonight. I cannot wait for you all to get to know her and hear some of her story. I'll tell you more about her later. I just want to let you know she is in the house with us tonight. She's going to be up here in just a moment.
That's a celebration.
That's a celebration. And one more celebration before we get started. I should have said this before this, but in a couple of weeks, we are planning an event that's going to love on the community, not just like this free community in this space, but the community out there. I wanted to give you all more details tonight, but we don't have all the details rolled out. So I just want to say in a couple of weeks, we got a big event coming up, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a way to just show some love to the community, and y'all will be a part of that. So stay tuned.
That'll be
Let's
exciting.
do some celebrating. All right, you want to start?
Yeah.
All right.
We're missing Drew here tonight, but Drew shares
we are.
Stephanie Bickford is my sister, and she shared this live feed. Her engagement in my life all the way from Cali is a celebration. Much love, sis. That's so cool.
Awesome, Drew. Thank you for sharing that with us. Mark Jordan says, and many of y'all remember Mark. He was our guest storyteller last week. My wife is coming home from rehab tomorrow, celebrating with you, Mark. So
Two
good
exclamation points there. I like
Give
it.
some love.
All right, Jess. Hey, Jess. What's up, Norwoods? Reed and I are celebrating our 15th anniversary next Thursday.
All
love
right.
it.
Congratulations, Jess and Reed.
Woohoo.
Corey says, I have 261 days sober and clean.
Sweet,
today.
Corey.
Keep going, Corey, 261. Big number. Keep going, brother. Good for you.
Cindy Rapp, celebrating good news from the skin doctor this week. I like it.
All right,
That's good.
Cindy. Good
Thanks,
news.
Cindy.
And Suzanne from Arizona,
Hi, Suzanne.
FBU Denver says, so blessed to have this stream out here in Arizona. I'm feeling homesick for Colorado. Thank you, Pastor Ryan and Tammy, for your dedication and continued ministry. Hey, we hope y'all are doing well. We miss you guys too. And you know you always have a home when you come back.
I understand they're coming home in a couple days, so we're excited to see you guys
All right.
sometime
Yes,
soon.
Absolutely.
Saman, all right. I was asked on a virtual book club Bible study this week by my friend and mentor, Summer, if I had welcomed Jesus into my heart. I told her I hadn't. So we all bowed our heads and she prayed over me while I welcomed him. Mind-blowing moment.
Mind-blowing. So awesome, Saman. Thank you
Thanks,
for sharing that
Saman.
with us.
Awesome.
Good to have you in this community.
Always.
Tony Nolan says 4/4/2016. And Tony, I don't know if I've met you yet, brother, but welcome to Free.
Yeah.
4/4/16 and loving my new life.
Sober date.
Sober date. Thank
Cool.
you for sharing that with us. So awesome. Glad you're here, bro.
Yeah. Debbie, celebrating my daughter's beautiful heart. She has been in the trenches. Is 5.5 months sober. That's huge and lifts me up daily. That's incredible.
Yes.
Really.
And we have been praying for her for the last 5.5 months. You've
Plus.
let us in on that story.
Yeah.
She's been here. So good to hear those stories. Thank you, Debbie, for bringing
Yep.
us in on that celebration. Debbie
Hi, Debbie.
Contreras says, love that we can still be a community together.
Yeah.
I love that too. And it's so awesome that you all continue to prove that community is more than just what happens inside the walls. It's how we connect. So thank you for lifting that up, Debbie. We love that too.
I don't know if you get to see as much as Danny and I on the backside of all the people greeting and welcoming and highs
I
and
know.
hellos, and it's really cool. So we
Yeah.
appreciate you guys and we miss you, friends.
Yes, I cannot wait for the day when we get to actually be in person together again. It'll be soon, but hey, this is what we do for now. We connect virtually, and I'm grateful for it. And I know y'all are too.
Yeah.
It's
And
good
for
to
now,
see
I'm
you.
going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Tammy. We'll see you again shortly, I'm sure. All right, y'all. We are, as I said just a moment ago, we're in the midst of this series called Hope in the Dark, a 3-week series. This week, remember last week we were in a book called Habakkuk. This week we're going to be in Genesis, but I want to share with you all the story of struggle and overcoming. This week it's about new identity. Last week it was God can handle our anger. We can go to God with these messes and God can handle it. God sticks with us. And this week I want to talk about new identity for just a few minutes before Stephanie comes up. But here's a little video to kick things off.
You know, pain is a lonesome place. I don't have to tell you, do I? It'll drop a rock in your stomach right through your pounding heart. And when your knees are so weak, you hit the ground. And you finally realize you don't got this. Well, now you might just make it. You see, the tallest tree may not weather the storm, but its roots do. So dig in, stand up, and let the wind blow. Because there's hope.
Some of you all know the story, the parable of the first century Jewish rabbi. On this particular day, the rabbi was off working in a distant village, and he notices that the sun is starting to set. It's getting darker. And so he quickly gathers up his supplies and he starts to make his journey back home. And he winds around the Sea of Galilee and he goes off into the woods. And by this time, he's noticing that the sun has gone completely down and it is completely dark. And in the darkness, he takes a wrong turn. Instead of turning right, he turns left. And instead of ending up at the gates of Damascus, he instead ends up at the gates of a Roman fortress. And when he gets there, this loud, booming voice shouts down at him, "Who are you and why are you here?" And the rabbi's startled. He looks around and he can't figure out where this is coming from. And finally he looks up and he notices there's a Roman guard on top of the fortress. And again, the voice shouts down to him in this booming voice, "Who are you and why are you here?" Now, every good rabbi responds to questions with a question. So the rabbi responds, "How much are they paying you to ask me those two questions?" To which the Roman guard responds, 5 drachmas per week. To which the rabbi responds, "I'll tell you what, if you come down from there and come back home with me and stand at my front door every single morning and ask me those same 2 questions, I'll double your pay." Who are you and why are you here? You see, your life is a story, and every good story consists of story turns. And the question becomes, what do we do with the defining moments in our life? Because see, y'all, your life, it's like this timeline, and from the time you were born until the time you die, you are going to experience positive and negative turns, moments of great joy and celebration, moments when life is really good, but you're also going to have moments when things are really hard. When life is hard, moments of grief and loss and heartache. And what do we do with those defining moments? Particularly the moments of mess and brokenness, when everything feels like it's been turned upside down, when things are dark. You see, I know what to do with the positive stuff, the positive turns, but what about the stuff down here? And see, if I don't know where I've been, then I don't have a clue who I am and why I'm here. And see, if we want to get to hope in the dark, we have to know who we are and why we're here. And in recovery, I started working through my story. And I thought all this stuff up here, all the positive stuff, that was the sacred parts of my story. And those would be the parts that I was really proud of. And those would be the pieces of my story that I'd really want to hang on to. But see, what I found was all of it is holy and sacred. Even the parts of your past that make you want to cringe. Like when you remember these moments, you want to do one of these. All of life is a holy, sacred gift. And my brothers and sisters, what you do with this gift matters. There's a place in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, that says, and it's just a couple of sentences, it's a couple of lines, and here we have it on the screen for you, but it says, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed. So if we continue doing the work, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. And I can't tell y'all how many people come to me and say, "Pastor, but see, you don't know the places I've been. You don't know where I've been." Or they say, "Pastor, you don't know some of the things I've done." Oh, you don't know. No, you're right. I don't know. But what I do know is you are not your past. There's a way out of that shame. And if you do the work with God, you won't regret your past because you will realize somewhere along the way that your past is actually helping to shape who you are. It's helping to shape your identity. So first, for just a couple of minutes, I want to share with you one of my favorite stories in the scriptures. It is a story about a guy named Jacob, and it comes from this book called Genesis. It's the very first book in the Bible. It's the first book of the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible. It comes from chapter 32. I actually have this, I don't know if y'all can see, I have this story tattooed on my arm. I told the story of that tattoo earlier today on social media. You can go to my Facebook page or Instagram page and see that if you're interested. It's one of my favorite stories. It's a defining story in my life, a transformative story, but it's told in Genesis chapter 32. And here's the backstory to Jacob. You see, Jacob had a brother, an older brother named Esau, and their father was Isaac. And Isaac was literally on his deathbed. He was dying, and the text tells us that he was losing his sight. And Isaac says to Esau, his oldest son, he says, I want you to go out and do a hunt, get some food, prepare a meal for me, and then I'm going to bless you. And y'all have to understand, a blessing in the ancient world was a big deal because it was when the father would say to the eldest son, look, son, everything I have is yours. Look around, all of it, it's yours. Now, Jacob hears this and Jacob is angry because he wanted the blessing. So he came up with this elaborate plan and he pulls his mom in on it. And he says, Mom, will you help me with something? Because see, Esau he's more hairy than I am and I'm smooth skinned. This is what the text says. And his voice is different. And so maybe if you could help get some hair on me, like put a garment on me, and if you can prepare a meal, well then maybe I can trick Pops into giving me the blessing. So Jacob, with the help of his mom, puts on a disguise. He goes into his father's room. And Isaac, the father, says to Jacob, who are you? What's your name? Jacob says, Pops, it's me, man. It's your oldest son, Esau. And I've made what you've asked me to make, and I've got the food, so sit up and eat so you can go ahead and bless me. And y'all, it worked. Jacob steals the blessing, but here's the thing. Esau gets home, and Esau's furious. He's mad. He says to Jacob, man, I'm going to kill you. So Jacob is now on the run, running from his mess, his wrongdoings, running from his past, running from who he is. And here's where the story picks up. While he's on the run, he arrives at the banks of the Jabbok River. And so we're going to pick up on the story. It's on the screen for you. The story takes place in verses 22 through 32, but I'm just going to read a couple of verses to you, starting in 24. So Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him till daybreak. Now, most scholars believe that this man would have been signified the God character in the story. So we're going to go with that this man that Jacob's wrestling is God. And when the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, let me go, for it is daybreak. But Jacob replied, I will not let you go until you bless me. He still wants the blessing. The man asked him, what is your name? Verse 27, let's just pause there for just a moment. What's your name? This question has a bit of history, doesn't it? Because see, when we meet Jacob earlier in the story, he's trying to deceive his father into thinking that he's actually the older brother Esau, so he could get the blessing from his father Isaac. But Isaac senses that something isn't right, and he asks, who are you? Who are you? What's your name? Jacob responds, Pops, it's me. I'm Esau, your oldest son. You see, Jacob's problem in life is he was trying to be someone else. You see, in the ancient world, your name, it was everything. It was your character, your history, your identity. Your name told your story. Your name told who you are. So when God asked Jacob, what's your name? What he's really being asked here is, who are you? who are you? And in the very next verse, we'll throw it on the screen for you, he responds, Jacob, he answered. And the crowd roars because finally Jacob was ready to get honest. Jacob was owning who he was, his story. And then the man said, your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome. Jacob said, please tell me your name. But he replied, why do you ask my name? Then he blessed him there. He got the blessing. So Jacob called that place Peniel, saying, it is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared. And the sun rose above him as he passed Peniel, and he was limping because of his hip. You see, when it comes to the hard stuff in your life, the moments of pain and brokenness, the negative turns, the stuff down here, the darkness, it is possible to come out and see light again. And here's the thing, you might come out with a limp, a permanent one. And the limp is there to stay. Don't try to get rid of the limp because, see, you need the limp. The limp reminds you need God. The limp reminds you to stop running. Running isn't the way to freedom. It isn't the way to happiness. The limp is God's subtle whisper to you, you are free. And everything I have is yours. Look around. Grace, forgiveness, love, compassion. Everything I have is yours. Who are you? Who are you? And how much of our pain comes from not knowing how to answer that question? Who are you? I mean, how much of our pain comes from comparing ourselves to other people? Saying we're this rather than we're that. We try to be someone we're not. We try to be someone else. Who are you? And you see, I think when God looks at you, when God looks around, God sees a bunch of sons and daughters. And yeah, we say, yeah, but God, you don't know where I've been. You don't know the places I've been. And you don't know some of the things I've done. And if you did really know that, you wouldn't really want me around anyway. And I think God responds, yeah. You can keep telling yourself that. But I'm going to be there. And when you run, I'll be there. And when you want to wrestle it out, I'll be there too, and I'll do that with you too. And when you're tired and weary and can't go on anymore, I will be there to remind you that everything I have is yours. Look around. My brothers and sisters, is it time to stop running? Is it time to get honest and own your story? The God who's still there when you stop running, that's hope in the dark. The God who says you're no longer that, you are this, that's hope in the dark. The moment you realize you are not your past, but your past can help give life to other people, that is hope in the dark. And so I want to give you all an opportunity to engage, to take 45 seconds, take the next 45 seconds and engage the question, what things do you need to let go of in order to live into a new identity? What are the things you need to let go of? And maybe it's past relationships. Maybe it's circumstances that are outside of your control. Maybe it's past experiences, that those moments of your past that, again, they just make you want to cringe. They make you want to turn the other way. You want to forget those things. You want to shut the door on your past. What are the things you need to let go of in order to live into a new identity? So we're going to throw this question on the screen for you. You're going to have 45 seconds. And again, y'all, I know it's an act of vulnerability to let people in on your stuff. Let people in on some of your pain, some of your joy. But I encourage you to do it because it's how we remain community. It's how we give ourselves to one another. So take the next 45 seconds, engage this question, and then we'll come back. Yeah, I know it's only 45 seconds. Um, I know you could write an entire journal entry on this stuff, the things we need to let go of, the things that hold us back from living into our true selves, our authentic selves, the ones God created us to be. 45 seconds isn't a lot to engage the question of what are the things you need to let go of, but it's just to get your mind rolling. Expectations of others. Gina says she needs to let go of expectations of others. Chris said, let go of being right. Dana, are you throwing them on the screen? Okay. Expectations. A few of you said expectations. Letting go of being right. Yes, a biggie. What else we got? Chrissy said, thinking I was an atheist, but I actually need and want God. Yeah, I understand that. Things we need to let go of. We don't have all the answers. Carrie said, let go of worry about things I can't control. Let go of comparing myself to others. How many of us battle that one? Yes, thank you all for sharing that. Wendy said past relationships. Yeah, how many of you all out there deal with holding on to those past relationships and they weigh you down? Shirley says letting go of control. God's in control always, not me. Yes, again, how many of us battle that one? Drew said my idea that I have the slightest clue I know what I'm doing. How do we let go of that one? Thank you for sharing that, Drew. Chris says, let go. Nothing is within my control except for my love of my Father. He alone makes all things right when I let go of my life and my will. Thank you for sharing that, Chris. Thank you all for sharing. And just because we're stopping this moment doesn't mean you can't continue to engage that question. It's an important one. It's one we should engage throughout the week together. What things do we need to let go of? What things do we need to wrestle with God about and then come out with a new identity? Where do we need to hear the blessing like, look, my boy, stop running because all I have is yours? What are the things you need to let go of? All right, y'all. I want to introduce you to Stephanie King. Like I said before, I'm excited for y'all to get to know her. Ask your questions. She's going to stick around like all of our other storytellers. She's going to engage your questions. But if you have questions while she's talking, I'll kind of monitor the comments coming in, and I will ask Stephanie those questions. She has been in the work of recovery for a long time, for I think 11 years. She is a nationally certified drug and alcohol interventionist. She's here tonight to share her story of being the loved one of an addict. In this community, y'all know we're made up of addicts and loved ones of addicts and spiritual refugees, and we hear from y'all that you want to hear from the loved ones of the addicts, because there's so many of you out there, and it's a struggle. It's a tough road. She's going to share her story of. Part of her story was watching her husband battle this disease of alcoholism, and she didn't know anything about addiction. And watching him battle and go into liver failure in his late 30s and go into dementia because of alcohol, and how she coped with this, where she found hope in the dark. So I want you all to meet Stephanie. Stephanie, come on up here and join me. Let's have some conversation. All right. Thank you for being here, Stephanie.
Thank you for having me.
This is going to be fun, and it's going to be good.
Yes.
And so I want you to just start with explaining to our community, like I told them, I didn't tell them this part, so I'll say this. You were married at 18. You got married early.
Early.
He was a bit older than you, and you had 2 kids together, and you didn't know anything about addiction.
Not a thing.
And yet you were watching this scene, this battle unfold in front of you. So walk through with us what that was like, how you found hope.
Well, it was like a nightmare, Ryan. It was one thing after another. Addiction is definitely a family disease, and my situation is a perfect example. It affects the family just as much as it affects the one that is using.
Yeah.
And he is a fabulous man, great person, successful businessman, lost everything from his addiction. So it was heartbreaking to see his life just slowly spiral out of control and become more and more unmanageable.
Yeah.
It was like I was living a nightmare.
You know, and tell us about, because I think sometimes when we're not real familiar with alcoholism or the disease of addiction, we think of someone that's literally on the streets or doesn't have a home. But I think it's important what you just said. He was a successful businessman. I mean, from the outside, he had his stuff together.
He is actually to credit for a lot of individuals' success, as he would, with his businesses, he would see potential in someone, bring him under his wing, and make sure that he provided them with the right tools to become successful entrepreneurs. Amazing man.
So walk through us a little bit. What happened? Where was that kind of? I know he's in a long-term facility right now. How'd that happen?
So I didn't even catch on that his drinking. I mean, I was 18. I knew nothing about addiction, and the reason I chose to educate myself was because I was living it, and I didn't know how to respond, what to do. It was a nightmare, and one morning he just woke up, like what really like told me that it was really a problem. He woke up, he was yellow. The whites of his eyes were yellow. His skin was yellow. He was complete jaundice.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare. It was awful.
And you know, I know Tammy, my wife, will say this about when it came to my drinking. She said, "Man, I didn't know you had a problem. I just wondered, like, why is he drinking so much?"
Well,
Is
because
that
we
kinda how
love you guys. We want to think that you guys are always being honest with us and telling us the truth when really you're master manipulate. You know, you guys are at its finest. Greatest people I know. The people that I work with every day that are in recovery and maintain sobriety they're taught humility, they're taught accountability, honesty.
If we work at it,
If
right?
you work at it, it takes
staying
work.
spiritually connected and working some sort of program.
You definitely spiritually connected. Definitely have to find your higher power.
So I would love to hear, how did that affect, and you can give us details, leave out details you don't want to share, but how did it affect your kids? How did it affect you moving forward? And then I want to get to, you said Al-Anon was a huge help for you, still is.
Al-Anon is the program that I worked personally. Al-Anon saved my life. I recommend Al-Anon to any parent who has a loved one or a significant other or spouse that has a loved one that is struggling, is find an Al-Anon meeting.
And so how'd that take place? He went into the hospital or treatment center.
He went into a hospital. I ended up having to call 911 because he was vomiting blood. And of course, I was like panicked. I'm like, it's not normal to vomit blood. So it was the esophageal varices. And what ended up happening was, because of all the alcohol corrosion and the throwing up and the acid from the alcohol, it caused his esophagus to rupture. So it had to be banded together. So I had to call 911, have him brought there. And from there, it was treatment, relapse. Detox treatment, relapse. Detox treatment, relapse.
And so what'd you do with that? Was there moments where you just felt like a failure? Was there moments where you felt like giving up? Was there moments where you just wanted to kick them and say, what in the heck is wrong with you? How'd you deal with it?
So to be honest with you, the only time I felt like giving up was when I called all these detoxes and treatment centers to try to get him in to a program because he was dying, and nobody would return my calls. Not one treatment center would return my calls. I don't know what was going on. This was 10 years ago, and things might be different now than what they were back then. But I told myself the reason I do what I do is because I never want another family to go through what my children and I went through. My daughter is actually dealing with her own stuff right now, and she's in treatment. So it's, it
affects the whole family.
The whole family in different ways. My daughter's dealing with, why couldn't my dad put me first and stop drinking for me? And the only thing I tell her is, your dad loves you very much. He is one of the best humans that I know on this planet. He is just sick. He's just a sick person.
Yeah, and it's the great lie that addicts and alcoholics, it's the great lie we tell ourselves. I'm not affecting anyone. I'm just hurting myself, so leave me alone.
I was in the hospital. I was in the ER. I had a stroke at 20, I think I was 27 years old, because I was so consumed with trying to keep him alive and raise 2 babies. The kids were, I think, 1 and 2 at this time, that I wasn't taking care of myself. And so I ended up in the hospital with the stroke at 27 years old for 2 weeks. It was a nightmare, because I kept saying to myself, if I'm not healthy to take care of my kids, like, and their dad is, like, what's,
Oh,
going to happen?
goodness. Yeah, yeah.
So it was scary.
So, and then literally you had to, because you couldn't find the help you were looking for, you had to kind of self-educate, right?
Oh,
Tell us what you did.
I self-educated myself through the whole process. I learned just about everything I know from self-education. Of course, I've taken a lot of seminars, public speaking, and I have a lot of licensing and certifications. But honestly, I wouldn't be able to do what I did today if I didn't have somewhat of a personal experience. I totally self-educated myself, because I wanted to know, when he got out of treatment, my biggest fear was, I didn't want to feel like I was walking on eggshells, which I did. What do I do? Like, do I, how do I support him? What do I do? So I self-educated myself. Nobody taught me anything.
And then you've become a nationally certified drug and alcohol interventionist.
And I've helped probably over 1,000
See, that's incredible.
individuals that struggle with addictive disorders get the help that they need.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking drugs and alcohol. It could be sex, gambling, anything. So it's
so important.
I mean, and the bottom line is there was a ton of times that I wanted to give up, but there was one time that stands out, Ryan, that I literally fell to the ground and literally had to, like, pray to God and ask him, please help me.
Yeah. Talk to us about that. Tell us, and then I want to hear how, because I want you to speak to people who may be dealing with a loved one who's battling any sort of addiction, but how Al-Anon helped you. But talk to us about that moment when you dropped to your knees and invited God in, and essentially it was a moment for you where you said, I can't do this anymore. And what role has God played in all of this for you?
Oh my goodness, so much. He's the reason why I'm here and able to do what I do today. And, when I got down on my knees and prayed to God and asked him to help me, guide the way, was when I left my ex-husband, because he had relapsed first 24 hours. And once you give that bottom line, whether you're a spouse or a family member, friend, whatever, you have to follow through with that bottom line.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
As hard as it is. I see families all the time loving their loved ones literally to death. To death. You have to follow through with that bottom line. What was mine? Mine was, if he got out of treatment and relapse, I was going to leave him. So what did I do? I left him. However, never worked a day in my life. No education. I met him when I was 18 years old and got married, okay? No nothing, okay? So I literally got down. I didn't know how I was going to feed my kids. I didn't know how, because of he was the provider.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know how I was going to do anything. And I got down on one knee and I prayed, and God totally, obviously gave me a message that I'm put on this earth to help other people.
Yes, using your past, using your experience to help others.
Absolutely.
That's hope in the dark.
That's hope in the dark.
So, Stephanie, what do you mean? That's so interesting, and I think people help us understand that. When you say you see so many family members love their loved one to death, what does that mean?
Enabling. Enabling.
Tell us about that, though. What's
Enabling is ultimately making it easier for the one with the addiction to continue on that destructive pattern.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you're paying for a roof over their head, you're making it easier for them to use. You're making it more comfortable for them to use. Why would they stop?
Yeah.
They're comfortable. Sometimes, as hard as it is, Ryan, it is the hardest thing ever. But you have to let go and love them from far away, because sometimes loving them like that and so close, it's deadly.
And it's hard. I know,
Oh.
like you, I know families struggle with this. And so I also know there's lots of grace in the journey, and it's hard work. I mean, I think it's the hardest work we can do is to love from afar.
Oh, it is hard. I mean, there was a point in time when I loved from afar that I didn't know if he was dead on the side of the road or if he was in jail,
Yeah.
what was going on. I mean, it's not fun going to bed at night with,
Yeah.
those thoughts. So, but I knew what I had to do.
What's the I know you've worked with thousands of people, many families. What's the number one thing you see them asking, or what's the number one word of advice you give them?
One thing besides finding your higher power, okay, the one thing I would tell a family member is I have seen significant progress with my clients who leave their environment for treatment. It's people, places, and
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
You got to leave the people you were using with, the places you were using at, the things you were doing. And when they leave the state to get better, it makes it a lot harder for them to go back out. They need to build a new life in a sober, supportive community. That's my one thing of advice. People, places, and things.
People,
Build a
places.
new life where you can become a productive citizen of society.
Man, if y'all have your notebooks out, take some notes. That's good stuff right
That's
there.
the one thing,
Build
honestly,
a new
I
life
would
where you
say.
can become a productive member of society.
You have to
People,
build-
places, and things.
As hard as it is to be away from your mommy or your daddy or your whatever, I mean, it's a life or death situation, and that's what needs to be done. In my opinion, the one thing of advice, and then also to families, okay, who have a loved one struggling, take 10 minutes every day, whether it's a bath, whether it's meditation, whether it's reading a book. You need to take at least 10 minutes every day for yourself. For yourself. I will never forget being told that.
Did y'all hear that? That's self-care right there.
Self-care,
10 minutes a day.
10 minutes a day, at a minimum. I mean, I take at least, I'm like 30 minutes, an hour. But no, you at least, like, you
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
take
yeah.
self-care. If you can't take care of yourself and keep yourself healthy, how are you going to be able to,
Yeah. Drew, yeah, I was just reading, just a couple of comments have come in, lots of comments. I'll just read a couple of them though. Drew said, my parents did not mean to, but they did not realize I used their love against them.
because that is in.
Thank you, Drew, for
Thank you
letting
for
us know
being
that.
honest.
Yes.
That
yes.
was honesty. I love it. Is Drew in recovery?
Drew's in recovery. Drew just celebrated, we
Honesty?
celebrated last year, 3 years sober.
Yay, Drew.
Awesome, Drew.
That's awesome. Good job. Keep it up.
Pamela Less, she's another dear one in this community. She says, the hardest thing I ever done in my life was evicting my son.
You probably
I still
saved his
struggle with
life. You probably saved his life, Pamela. And if he is still struggling right now using whatever, feel free to contact me and I will talk you through it.
Yes, we're going to give you her contact info at the end, but her son is someone we still pray for in this community. I know, I don't know how he's doing this week. I know you've requested prayers, though, Pamela. We are still praying for your son.
Pamela, I would love to connect with you later on.
Do it.
Yes.
And she's, by the way, just like all of our other storytellers, she's going to hang out in the back here the rest of the evening. She will be engaging your comments on her phone. So ask Stephanie any questions. Saman said, I had to be completely removed from the world as I knew it in order to get sober.
Mhm.
Yeah, Amanda said, take care of yourself always. This is the way you can take care of others. Yeah, we have to love ourselves before we can love others. Some of it's pretty simple stuff. We just got to remember to do it.
Oh, if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I see a therapist because sometimes in what I do, it's so sad. I mean, the good definitely outweighs the bad, but some days are so bad that I need a professional to talk to.
Yeah.
Because it really starts to weigh on me. And if we're not okay, how are we going to be able to help others?
Yes,
So for my
yes.
job, I have to see a therapist.
So important. And tell us too, here at Free, we're big advocates of 12-step programs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm obviously not an Al-Anoner, but I'm part of a different 12-step program. But tell us what Al-Anon, you said Al-Anon saved my life. Tell us what Al-Anon did for you. What kind of hope did it give you?
It's not your fault. There's nothing you can do. Pretty much all I can say is You cannot worry about things that are out of your control.
Yeah, to relinquish that control, actually,
Absolutely.
to give it up.
It's so hard. I mean, and I didn't even know what Al-Anon was when I was
Yeah, who's it for? Who's Al-Anon
first.
for?
Al-Anon is for family members who have a loved one that struggles with alcoholism. So there's also Nar-Anon. There's even one for teens. If you
What's
have
Nar-Anon?
Nar-Anon, for Narcotics Anonymous, it's for family members. There's Alateen, so there's one for adolescents, and you guys, I cannot stress to you enough, if you have a loved one that struggles with addictive disorders, who is a parent to your child, implement moderation in your children's life, please.
Cindy's asking, did you find a sponsor early in Al-Anon?
You know, I really didn't, honestly. That's something I probably should have done differently.
Yeah.
And I just had so many supports. I talked to a ton of therapists at this time, and I talked to a ton of people who actually work in the industry and his family. So I had support, but I should have definitely found a sponsor immediately. I found one later.
Getting a sponsor in your life, I just know from other 12-step programs, in my own experience, it gives you someone in your life to keep you accountable, to someone with experience, strength, and hope, to walk through the steps with you, to kind of guide you through the steps. They're not there to give you all the answers. They're not some spiritual guru. They're literally simply there to help be a guide through the steps. Fred, thank you for chiming in. He said, letting an alcoholic or addict reach their bottom is the most spiritual and loving thing you can do, but it's also hard. Very hard.
So, and that's where everybody's rock bottom's different, right?
Yeah.
What was yours? Or do you talk about it?
I do talk about it.
Okay, what was yours?
It was the moment, I've shared this with this community, it was the moment Tammy came down the stairs. I was a pastor at the time, active in the local church, and I had all this shame because I couldn't figure out why I couldn't stop drinking. I couldn't figure out why I kept breaking promises, why relationships were breaking in my life. And Tammy came down the stairs. I was passed out on the couch. It was early morning, and she said, she was holding an empty liquor bottle, and she said, "What are we going to do?" And it was a breaking moment for me because I had a little girl, and she was beating me on the head trying to wake me up. She thought I was dead.
Daddy, let's go play.
Yeah, and so it wasn't. I didn't lose my family. I didn't lose the house, but all those bottoms are different. I was losing the things in my mind and my life that were most important to me. But bottoms also, as my buddy reminds me, bottoms have trap doors.
Exactly.
So you can hit a bottom, then you hit another one. Then it gets worse, and the trap door keeps falling.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That was a good one. I'm going to use that. That was a good one.
It came from Ryan, if you're watching. That came from Ryan.
That's awesome.
He said trap doors. Trap doors.
Do you think your life would be where it is today if you didn't get sober?
Absolutely not.
Where do you think you would be?
You
don't want to think of it, do you?
Well, dark. I mean, the truth is I hated myself. I was filled with shame. I was filled with fear and pain, and I didn't know how to face the brokenness in my life. And so what sobriety gave me was freedom. Free. I'm free.
Right?
It gave me a connection to God that I didn't even know was lacking. I didn't know I needed this spiritual connection. And I encountered a God who, he said to me, all I have is yours. Like, grace is yours, forgiveness is yours, compassion is yours. That's what I had to have in my life to get to freedom.
I love it.
And sobriety gave me that.
There you go.
So, Stephanie, I'm so grateful you came here tonight.
You.
I think people are going to want to talk to you. Can you, how can people connect with you if they say, man, I really want to chat with Stephanie about things happening in my life? How can they get in touch with you?
They could find me on social media, Stephanie King, or I could be reached anytime directly at 720-305-2621. Once again, 720-305-2621.
Thank you for giving your phone number out on
I just want to help people.
Yeah, I know you do. And so thank you for that. And like I said, she's going to stick around and engage some of your questions. So if you have more questions about Stephanie's experience and where she finds hope in the dark, engage with her. She's going to be here. So Stephanie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You'll be in the back, and we'll check in just a little bit.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. All right, y'all. We are going to... and yes, like I said, keep the questions coming, keep comments coming. I see Tammy put in Stephanie's number. So if you want to connect with someone who has the experience of a loved one of, connect with Stephanie. We're going to go into our time of heartaches. I'm going to scoot over a little bit, get in the middle of the screen here. You know, heartaches are our time for us to be real and vulnerable as a community together, like y'all do every week. Like I have to even tell you to do this. Y'all model this day in and day out. And I love watching it happen through the week. But this is where we come together and do the same way as celebrations, except these are the burdens that we carry. So you're going to have 2 minutes to let us know the burdens you're carrying, the heartaches, where your heart is cracking just a little bit, as my 7-year-old daughter says, when her heart cracks. We have a prayer team here led by Jason. You're going to see more of Jason in just a minute, but we pray for y'all throughout the week. In fact, I met with our prayer team this week on a Zoom, and we're checking in with one another to see how we can do better at checking in with you all, with this community, because we truly want to be here for each other to lift one another up. And we believe that God hears our prayers when we articulate these things and put voice to them. And when you put it in the comment section, or even if you just say a subtle prayer to yourself, God always hears the prayers of God's people, which is all of us. So I want to encourage you to take a moment. You'll have 2 minutes to share with us, share with this community, ways we can encourage you, ways we can lift you up, ways we can be praying for you this week. So take 2 minutes and give us your comments, and then we'll come back together, and Tammy will join me again. Take 2 minutes. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for always. Thank you. We realize it is an act of vulnerability to share your heartaches with this community, so thank you. And by the way, you can share those throughout the week in this thread. You don't have to like stop after the 2 minutes. We know you have heartaches, and sometimes you're just like not typing it. And if things come up through the week, share them with this community. We want to lift you up. We want to pray for you. So Danny is going to throw some on the screen. You want to start?
Sure. So from Fred, a man I've known for 20 years, Hardy B, died alone in his apartment this last week. He never could quite get it. Great guy. Prayers would be appreciated. Thanks for sharing, Fred. Glad you're here too.
Prayers. Leslie says, prayers for our son Colin and working through issues with his girlfriend. Praying for you and your son Colin. Thank you, Leslie.
Amy, my mom Barbara has a bilateral subdural hematoma. That's tricky to say.
That is.
Whew, brain is bleeding. Amy, I'm sorry to hear that.
Prayers for your mom. Ben says, 2 of our pups are aging quickly, nearly 14 and 15 years old. Both have had serious vet visits within the last week or so. prayers for you, Ben, and your family.
Yeah.
I know the pets are dear loved ones in your life, so prayers for you and your family.
Absolutely. From Jim, asking for prayers for our cousin Kathy and her struggle to help her addict son Chris. He's at her home and she is searching desperately for resources to help. Yeah, we'll pray
Thanks
for you,
for
Jim.
sharing that, Jim. Maybe Stephanie could be a resource. Linda says, prayers for my mom. Linda, thank you for sharing that. Prayers
Yeah.
for your mom.
From Courtney, Kevin's prayer is that his best friend Andrew is found and comes back to the program. Thanks for sharing that, Courtney.
Yeah, thank you, Courtney. Big Lou says, prayers for all small business owners through all of this. Yes, we know so many small businesses are struggling. Prayers for you.
Yep.
Thank you, Lou, for lifting that
Yep.
up.
Thanks, Lou. From Carrie, prayers,
Prayers
Amy
for
Stevens. Yeah,
That's
thanks,
the way community
Carrie.
works.
Yep, you guys are so good to lift each other up.
Pamela says, keep praying for Sam's safety.
Yeah.
Yes, for those of you that don't know, Sam is her son, and we're going to keep praying for Sam.
Yep.
Thank you all for, again, being vulnerable and sharing those things with us. We know there's more. We don't read them all, but you all can read them all in the comments section. And I just want to lift up, I know COVID-19 continues to be a destructive virus in our midst, and I've heard from more people that have had loved ones in their life, family members, friends, die from this. So we do want to continue to lift them up and say prayers for them. We realize this is, hey, look at that. Our son is joining us tonight. We lift them up. All the prayers we've heard, we lift up this evening. And I want to just take a moment, and I think I should tell them about the wagon.
Oh,
But here's the deal. I'm not going to go into the full story of the wagon because y'all can jump on our website or you can watch any previous of our services. I always tell the story of the wagon, but I do want to say the wagon for us, it's a central image in our community,
Always
and it
has
has
been.
been since day one.
From the backyard?
We had a little wooden wagon in our backyard, and the deal with the wagon is, here's what you need to know. You are always welcome in this community. I say it every week. We don't do shame in this community. Don't let shame keep you in isolation. It's deadly. You are always welcome. Some people are going to fall off the wagon, and here at Free, we do not kick the wounded. We don't
Absolutely
say,
right.
too bad, so sad. We say, get back up. Let's help each other get back on the
We got
wagon
you.
of life
Mhm.
because we're headed to a place of recovery, healing, and spiritual connection. And you truly, I don't care if you're on day one of being clean and sober. I don't care if you're still struggling. I don't care if you have 20 years clean and sober. You're welcome, and we mean that. You are
Seriously,
welcome in
yes.
this community.
Yep.
And we are going to love each other. This community does it the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I love y'all.
Yep.
And you're welcome in this community. You're welcome to be on the wagon.
That is some passion.
Wow, I get passionate about it. What can I say?
I love it.
And on our wagon, we always keep a donation box. In fact, scattered throughout the premises of Free, we have donation boxes because it's how we stay sustained as a ministry, as a community, as a home for people. It truly is, and I say this every week, it's your generous giving that keeps this thing going. And I'm so excited about the ways this place and this community is growing, even in the midst of COVID-19.
It's amazing.
But it is your giving, and I can't tell you all how grateful we are. Every week we open up checks in the mailbox, and we see your giving coming in from all over the country. Some of you I don't even know, and that makes it even more special and cool. But I want to introduce you just a 90-second video of Jason. Jason is the head of our prayer team. He's been with us
Big
since
J, we
day
love you.
one. Many of y'all know Big J. He's been with us in the backyard. The first time we met him was in our backyard at the first pilot session we did at Free. And here Jason is. Who's this cat?
Yep, still here.
Jason is one of the kindest, softest-hearted individuals you're ever going to meet. He does nothing for credit. He does not do the good things in life to get credit or attention for it. He has given to this community since day one. And I said, Jay, just this week, I said, Jay, would you come in and just give us a couple minutes on why you give to this community? And y'all got to understand, like, humility just comes out of his bones. So even to get him to open up about this is, a little tricky because he doesn't want the credit. But I said, dude, just 90 seconds on why you give. And so Danny was so gracious to edit a video for us. And I want y'all to meet Jason and just hear 90 seconds from Jay.
Hi, my name is Jason. I'm a recovering gambling addict. I spend my money gambling, I spend my money on women, and I spend my money on drinking. It's important to understand that I had a very unhealthy relationship with money. I used to worship money.
Yeah.
And that started after my mom passed away. To me, my mom was my security, and then money became my security. I'm not a very wealthy person. Every dime I get, I work for. So even though I don't have a lot, I still give. Since finding God in recovery, my security has changed. I used to dump my money in slot machines. Now I give my money to things that matter to me. So I give to Free because I feel welcome here. I feel loved. People give me hugs. People know me by name. Free has become a home to me and so many others. You may be sitting here thinking you don't have a lot to give. It's not about how much you have to give, because everything we get from God is a gift. That's why I give. Together, we are breaking the silence of addiction and creating a space of healing, recovery, and spiritual connections.
Thank you for that, Brother Jason. So glad you're in this community. I love your heart. I'm so honored and grateful to call you friend. Love having you here at Free. Listen, guys, if you want to be a part of giving in this community, there's two ways to give. And like I said before, it truly is your generous giving that helps us keep going. There's two ways to give. The first way to give is to, you can do the texting thing. You can text the number on the screen, and all you have to do is simply text give, and then it'll send you a message back. How much do you want to give? You can put any number in you want. No gift is too small. Then it'll send directions on how to do that. It's real simple, safe, and secure. Or you can go to our website, freespiritualcommunity.com, click on the donate button, and again, you can put any number in there. No donation is too small. It's all a gift, and we are grateful for it. So glad you're part of this community. All right, y'all, it is 8. What time is it? It is 8:01. See, in person, when we meet in person, we usually go an hour and 15 minutes. We end at 8:15. But sometimes the online thing, we realize your time is valuable and you have different things going on in your life and you need to get to doing the dishes and put kids to bed. So we close a little before 8:15. But we always do close in prayer. And this evening, I thought it would be fitting. Tam, you want to join me for prayer? Let's go out with the Serenity Prayer. If you don't know the Serenity Prayer, one of my very favorite prayers, and it's really fitting for tonight. And if you don't know it, it'll be on the screen. And it goes like this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. All right, guys, grace and peace to you this evening. I hope this week you find some hope in the dark. I hope this week you can wrestle with God. I hope this week you can hear God saying to you, stop running. All I have is yours, all of it. Look around, grace and peace and compassion and love and forgiveness. These things are yours. All I have is yours. And may you find new identity, not just one time, but constantly find new identity. Grace and peace to you. We'll see you.